talk generally in that direction. Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, welcome to the jam. Come on and slam.
And welcome to the jam.
Oh, it's TBBAM.
That was tight.
TBBAM. We're talking about me, East Bay Al, and my friend Garrett.
Yo.
We are TBBAM. That is two best bros bitch about music. And we're talking to you about two different genres today.
Yay!
Hey, two different genres that we both come from. We come from one or the other, I guess. We love both of them.
I'd say we both kind of come from one of them.
One of them, yeah, that's a good.
One just diluted into the other.
Yep. And so, brace yourselves. We're talking about the genre of punk rock, that anarchist piece of pleasure that you always listen to when you're angry, and metal, which is that times two.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty much, right?
I mean, yeah.
Someone got offended
some deal with different themes, but that's pretty much all we need to know right now.
Yeah, someone got offended right there, but I mean, that's pretty much what it is, right?
I mean, in basic terms, yeah. So I guess you've done no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you get mad, I didn't say it.
I said it. Come fight me. I'm right here.
Yeah, come do it. Come do it.
Down here. Come fight me. Come do it. I'm ready. Okay.
Wait, I can't actually dox you. That would be terrible.
Alrighty.
That'd be such a bad thing. All right.
So let's talk about first one, the one that we come from, punk rock.
Yes, punk rock.
Punk rock. It says here, punk rock is a music genre that emerged in the mid-'70s, rooted in '60s garage rock. And punk rock bands during that time rejected the perceived excesses of mainstream 1970s rock music. So punk rock has always been rejecting that mainstream, and it's typically producing short, fast-paced, hard-edged melodies and singing styles stripped down to just three chords, sometimes just power chords. And often shouting political, anti-establishment lyrics.
Yeah.
Punk rock embraces a do-it-yourself ethic, and many bands just self-produce recordings and distribute them through independent punk rock labels.
DIY. That's what's up.
And that is the definition. What are your thoughts on punk rock, my friend? What does it mean to you?
Punk rock is... Well, I'm going to talk about a bit this with metal as well, but I think there is such a beauty to punk rock, even if it gets a bit too angry for my taste. But the truth is, we all, I feel, in some manner need punk rock, because it's hard to go through life and to just keep working if you're in, a situation like most people here in middle-class America, you have to work the same job just to stay afloat, just to keep a house, just to keep the family happy, and it's just nice to have a thought going through your head that someone out there knows that this is wrong, and there's more to life than that, and is willing to stand up for that. And there's a beauty to that. I feel like
it's beautiful.
Sometimes that message can get lost, and it can just be an excuse to hit people in a public setting.
Mm-hmm.
But at its roots, with like the originals and in other bands that we see in our local scene, there is such a unanimous just agreement that we're all in this together. We can, if we make our voices heard, people will get angry, but that's what we're doing. At least we're drawing people's attention. Yeah. At least we know at the end of the day that someone out there is going to hear that and is going to want to stand up for what's right, for the good of all people, and strive for a better society.
That's a great way of putting it. Punk rock has always been about community and lifting other voices up that, just don't have the means to, have mainstream success. And honestly, punk rock is the rejection of anything mainstream, honestly. it has its own culture. It has its own heroes, its own history, rich history. That's, you know, it's really something. Punk rock to me is a complete and total, like, well, let me give some context. When I was a kid, my parents always, fed me the good stuff, the Beatles, Beach Boys, just stuff that you might, stuff
all of you should listen to.
Dance funk, just dance pop, stuff that felt good, the Shrek soundtrack.
Yeah.
And of course that was all well and good. That all led to a happy, privileged musical upbringing. I felt very satisfied with where I was at as a kid, what I was listening to. But when I became a big boy, and when I became, old enough to reach the age of reason, I found this harder stuff. I found these bands that were playing the drums faster, and they were playing it harder, and they weren't talking about love. They were talking about they were talking about anger. They were talking about primal emotion, and I was like, "What is this? This is awesome! I want to listen to this now. This is the shit." And it's kind of like the next stage of, like, I became into punk rock around 13, 14, 15. And everyone changes their musical taste over time. Around that time is when you start talking, thinking about existentialism and, like, where am I in this world? A lot of insecurity. And punk rock is very, very comforting to me in that when I was in that stage of my life, that's kind of what it's about. Music, different kinds of music have different ways of affecting your brain. And for me, punk rock has always been at the top for some reason. For some weird reason, that kind of genre of music is exactly what I always need. Like, at any given point. Ever since I turned, like, 12, I've always needed more of that hard stuff, the fast drums, the three chords with the three strings, the power chords, the greatest chords that, have ever been created. It's always been a very happy thing for me to listen to, even though sometimes the music is not happy. Sometimes the music is very loud and very angry. That's kind of the point. Mm-hmm. But it's very, very comforting. Me and a lot of other people. And it's kind of weird because you'd think that only happy music would make you happy.
You think,
right? But no, that's not how it goes. Music is working in 4 dimensions. Is way past our 3-dimensional way of looking at anything. It's primal emotion, and punk rock to me has always been there for me, and it's the kind of stuff that I really gravitate to my whole life.
Absolutely. That was amazing. That was so good.
Well, thank you.
So well put. I've always been attracted to punk, but I've been more recently attracted to punk ever since I came here, and I found the Bay scene, and
there is a big punk rock scene in the Bay Area.
There is.
Always has been, always will be. The Dead Kennedys grew up here.
Of course, we got Green Day from here.
Green Day came from here. A lot of awesome bands that played that stuff. Operation Ivy. Rancid,
oh my gosh, yeah.
They all came from here in this little punk subculture of America.
Indeed.
And it's still going strong.
It is.
And that's kind of where we met each other. It's kind of the little scene that could, that's taken up the reins from the old scene, which took up the reins from the old scene, which took up the reins from the old scene, and so on and so on. We're like great grandsons of this great big punk rock awakening that happened in the 70s.
Yeah,
and I couldn't be more proud because I've met so many cool bands and I listened to so many cool bands that played beforehand, before me, before I was born. And they played at the same venues, a lot of venues that aren't even here anymore. But it's a great tradition, and I love being a part of it.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. I like being a part of it too, also just because as a queer person, you know, especially now, you see all
Yeah.
the shit that is being thrown in our faces.
Yeah, and imagine how it was back then.
Yeah, I
You know,
can't.
if it's bad now, imagine how it was back then. I mean, honestly, the punk rock scene, the punk rock culture has been the only safe haven traditionally for a lot of LGBT people.
It really has been. It does feel like a safe place, even though recently, in our scene, because in case you want some context, our scene is kind of divided right now. There's
what else is new?
yeah, there's a bit more. There's the lighter stuff, which is kind of what Al and I sit on, and then there's the really, really hardcore stuff, which some other bands have devolved into. I should not say devolved. That sounds. It's what they chose to do.
Controversy. I love it.
No, because no disrespect. That's what they want to do. That's their choice, and I am in no place to say what they can and can't do. But one thing, even though we're divided on certain ways music should be done, I think being in that scene is one of the only places. I have the privilege of feeling safe where a lot of people go because, you know, I was raised with a great family, and I was taught, you know, to love other people for themselves. So
same here.
That's good. But I will say, just you know, as I'm now living on my own, and I'm realizing, oh, okay, people are a lot meaner than it's made out to be. And even here in San Francisco, I've had, you know, I've gotten dirty looks on the F train to work because I'm wearing like a dress, or when I'm going to Petaluma and I show up with the hot mess outfit, which if you haven't seen, that's like my favorite outfit ever. And I just, you know, I hear someone scream across the street, like, you know, put on some pants, faggot, like something like that.
Don't go to El Sobrante. That's like Kansas of the Bay Area. But keep going.
I feel when I walk through the doors to a venue, like a punk venue, or if I just show up at a DIY show and I see other people, I feel safe. I feel like these people, no matter what we disagree on, they're going to have my back if people start shouting shit.
Yep. And historically, that's always the case. Punk rock is about inclusion, and it's about feeling safe. You know, if you've ever been to 924 Gilman Street, it's always been on the front door. The front door has always had the same list: no homophobia, no racism, no sexism, no misogyny, nothing like that. No transphobia.
No
and
fucking
that
Nazis.
Will never change. And no fucking Nazis too. That's also something that should be noted. Some Nazis look at punk rock and they see, oh fuck, this is cool.
There is a genre for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's anti-establishment. We're anti-establishment. The establishment doesn't like Nazis. Therefore, we belong here. And they don't. That's why Jello Biafra wrote Nazi punks fuck off.
Exactly.
It's
which
the
is
exact reason.
One of the best punk songs ever.
Yeah, and it's the most important because, like, that kind of ideology, even though it's not mainstream, they have no place here because they still have traditional power in the annals of, you know, U.S. political power. A lot of, you know, historically, the United States has always had like reactionary, you know, fascist right-wing politics it's embedded in its politics.
Absolutely.
And therefore, if you're a Nazi, like you're not punk. You can't cuckoo bird yourself into a place that you think you belong, because you don't. Like,
yeah, for real.
The cuckoo bird, for context, like tricks a mother into thinking that it's theirs so that it can leech off of. That's exactly what Jello Biafra was writing about when he wrote that song. If you just listen to the lyrics of Nazi Punks Fuck Off. I don't even have to, you know.
Also, the ideology of Nazis, which is insane.
Well, punk rock is about like the rejection of that.
I know, but
it's
it
about
also
inclusion.
exactly, but also it blows my mind because when they think that they're anti-establishment, it's like, no, you guys come from one of the most historically fascist regimes known to man.
Yeah, but it's
so it blows my mind.
And that's always been a problem. Like going back as far as like when punk rock started, they don't understand that. They always just see, wow, it's anti-establishment, and that's it. Like there's nothing else. There's no more context. So they think they deserve. And that's 924 Gilman when it opened had to deal with skinheads who felt like they needed to. Like, hey, we belong here. We're punks.
It's like, no, you're not.
There have been documented fights before 94 Gilman even existed about like letting people like. That's why like that front door exists, because none of that ideology should ever be allowed.
Never.
Yeah. But in any case, punk rock exists.
It's not dead.
It is.
It's still going.
It is political, and that is what punk rock's roots. The when it started, the whole point was rejection of just mainstream music, and it was more heavy and angry. So in a way, it was the music of the people. The music of downtrodden, just angry people who had no voice.
Yeah.
And punk rock has always been about just being loud and giving voice to the voiceless.
Also, I just love how like not subtle it is at all.
Yeah.
Which nothing wrong with being subtle.
Sometimes it is, but
sometimes
most of the time it's the whole point is shouting what you think.
It gets in your face. The whole point is it gets in your face. And yeah, that rubs people the wrong way. But when you are, say if you're a part of a group of people who is always being put down constantly, and every time you try to come back in a peaceful manner to be the better person, at one point, if they keep going through this and you keep pushing, something's going to snap. And eventually you're going to have to get in people's face in order to like make it known or like tell people to do something about this.
Yeah. Agreed.
With that, I think we should talk about some of our favorite bands.
Let's talk about bands. Okay, so the first couple bands to be punk rock, quote unquote, the Ramones,
absolutely,
the Sex Pistols,
the Three Pioneers,
the Clash, the Dead Kennedys, the New York Dolls, Iggy and the Stooges.
Those I feel like Iggy Pop and the Stooges.
Yeah.
And the Velvet Underground. Was where punk started.
The Buzzcocks.
Uh-huh.
And MC5. And a lot of others that
many others
that we can't name them all because there's so many. But yeah, those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones.
I have always been a fan of the Ramones.
Yeah.
I love the Sex Pistols. I love the Dead Kennedys, probably the most. I love the Dead
Oh my
Kennedys.
God, Dead Kennedys
I can't get enough of them.
Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables.
Yes.
Was just, it should be hailed in like one of the top 10 punk albums of all time.
Favorite albums of all time, honestly.
Yeah.
And
Lars, thank you for showing me that album. For that one day, it was like a Tuesday in 11th grade math class. It was really boring. And then you popped on some Dead Kennedys for that album. You popped on that album for me, and yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah, and honestly, Jello Biafra is he's just a fucking. If you put like a punk rock person in a blender and you like, I don't know where I was going with that, but
he
I guess
has
what I'm
the
saying
face of like
is
a lunatic, but
Jello Biafra is he's just he's the, I don't know if people would get that reference. He's the Al Davis of punk rock.
Yeah, you got me
there. That is to say, he is just, nobody can control him. He's like, you can't call him a sellout in any way, shape, or form because it pisses everybody off.
He does.
And there's just nothing. He's just really genuine, and just all the songs that he made in the Dead Kennedys are just, and the way he updated California Uber Alles, like 3 times. Once when Reagan was in office, and another when Schwarzenegger became governor. Like, he just does stuff like that. Like, you can't contain this guy. He's a lyrical animal.
He changed in his last tour in 2021. I remember I saw he changed Nazi punks fuck off to Nazi Trumps fuck off.
Yeah,
which
stuff like that.
Yeah,
He's always just been doing that his whole career, and like nobody can take that away from him.
Never.
Yeah, but the peak was the original Dead Kennedys. They were just
Absolutely.
the best band ever, honestly. And they were sarcastic. They were, they were kind of mean. They were super, super, super fast. Like D.H. Pellegro, rest in peace, rest in power.
Oh
that
my
dude
gosh, yeah.
Played super fast live. It was crazy.
If you guys
I've seen him so fast, it blows my mind.
If you want like living proof of this, look up early, not even just performances of Drug Me live, because Drug Me on its own is fucking insanely fast. Yeah. So, just yeah.
Yeah. I guess we should talk about the Sex Pistols. The Sex Pistols were they more than anybody had the image.
They did.
Cultivated the image of punk rock. Punk rock has a significantly unique image.
Clothespins.
That has a lot to do with...
Oh, no, not clothespins. What are these fucking things? I'm holding one right now.
That has a lot to do with Sid
pin.
Vicious. And who is that?
Johnny Rotten?
Yeah, well, Johnny Rotten, but like...
Oh, Steve Jones.
No, well, they had a manager.
Oh, the man... Oh, I thought we're talking about that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Hold up. Quick research.
Malcolm McLaren. And his whole deal was image. Nothing about the music. The Sex Pistols did not... I mean, Johnny Rotten and Steve Jones, they cared about the music, but how the Sex Pistols got famous was not about the music. It was about the image of basically just wearing really crazy stuff and going on TV.
Gee, I wonder who else does that.
Swearing. Back in the 70s in the UK, swearing on live TV was not something you did. It was like there were taboo things, and then there was stuff that you borderline could be crucified for, and swearing on live TV was something that you could be crucified for, and they just did it willy-nilly the first time they were ever aired on live. And of course, the famous Sid Vicious.
Oh man, that guy.
Absolute druggy animal, couldn't play bass, but he looked like, well, you still see that look everywhere, like in punk rock culture.
Shout out to Rory.
Yeah, exactly. He looks
we love
exactly
you.
like him. And everywhere you see kids who are just growing up, they want to look like Sid Vicious, and that was kind of the deal with the Sex Pistols. Like they brought in the image, and punk rock has. Well, it's not all about the image, but they had a formative style that they didn't perfect per se, but it was always like they pioneered, and they made sure that they're the reason why the style of clothing is what it is at Hot Topic. And so then there's the Ramones.
Mm-hmm.
The Ramones are great on any level. They had the style, they had the They weren't brothers, by the way. They were just all called the Ramones as a thing, and it worked. Just great. It just worked, The New York punk rock scene, same. It's not the same as the San Francisco punk scene, but it's got the same heart. It's got the same style. It's got the same bands that came out of it. It's great. And the 70s, at the time, in the 70s, that was innovative. Like just having 3-chord music that was just quick and fast and easy to. It was just so easy for a young punk rocker to digest. Is great. Ramones are food for the soul of a punk rocker, honestly. And Joey Ramone was just the greatest guy ever. You know, he was just a saint in punk rock terms, of course. Like, the dude could do no wrong. He was just, to this day, like, I wish I could have met him, because that dude, he was punk in every way, shape, or form. And that might not mean a lot, but to me, it's everything. Like, that dude was just a great guy. I can't say more good things about him.
Yeah.
The Clash.
Ah, yes.
Mick Jones.
The Clash, I feel, were interesting in the sense because I think they were like, well, Ramones definitely paved ways with their debut album, which oh my gosh, their debut, I haven't even talked about it yet. The Ramones debut album fucking slaps, which I should mention. But
the Ramones?
Yeah, the Ramones, their debut album fucking slaps. Yeah. But the Clash, I feel, were the first guys to really, and I mean really, bring punk into the mainstream.
Yeah.
And not in a way that was...
Well, England kind of did.
Yeah.
England.
Not in a way that was like selling out, which we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later.
That's a whole different discussion.
But in a way of like, they really brought big political issues that were... not that Sex Pistols didn't, but they were the guys who really brought big political issues to the forefront of their music when talking about their country, specifically being with the amazing album London Calling.
Yeah, London Calling. Easily one of the best albums ever.
Yeah. And also Rock the Casbah, which I didn't know for a while. I mean, I thought it was a groovy track. It really is. But I didn't know for a while it was actually about... because how the British government was contributing to the oppression that was taking place in Iran at the time, which for fun fact, I learned in ninth grade when I read Persepolis, which is an amazing graphic novel and movie. If you're fans of animation, quick tangent, go watch that movie. It's an incredibly beautiful film. Mm-hmm. But if you didn't know, the British government for a while was basically was moving into Iran to get oil, and also
what's changed,
but also around that time, they were paying Iran to do this. But at this time, this is when Iran was switching in power to a more deadly regime, I should say, because this is when the war was about to break out between Iraq and Iran. Yeah, the Shah. Yeah. And that's what the song's about. It's a very, very, deep song with it's insane messages.
Some of the best punk rock.
But it's an incredibly catchy, upbeat, got radio play song.
And
even though it's
too.
about
best punk rock yells at the establishment, going to war, political messaging like that, and it's catchy as all hell. That's kind of the best kind of punk rock. And honestly, that's what the Sex Pistols kind of brought in, other than the motorcycle jacket and 50s greaser look, of course. Honestly, the whole genre of punk rock is political, and outside of the subgenres of noise, there's types of punk rock like anarcho punk, hardcore, horror punk, pop punk, skate punk, street punk,
pop punk,
queercore, riot girl, post-hardcore, dance punk, cow punk, folk punk, garage punk, ska punk, punk rap, punk blues. Outside of that, of course, it all comes from a place of political, dissatisfaction with politics, and that's kind of the root of all of these lyrical geniuses that wrote songs for these guys, these bands. And Yeah, outside of all the pins and the ripped T-shirts, which are great.
No, they are great.
The visual style of punk rock is great and always will be.
I can't deny that.
You're wearing a pin blue motorcycle jacket right now.
I was, yeah.
It's badass.
And my hot mess outfit for that I wore for Closet Monster, which I will wear, by the way, when we get our thing off the ground. I'm gonna wear that.
Yeah.
Because that's like one of my favorite outfits ever.
Oh, I hope you do.
You know, it definitely has the look, but at the same time, you know, it's for a reason, because you don't have to dress punk to be punk, but the look is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's like the opposite of what people wear in like a typical 50s suburbia, which is, you know, collared shirt. But by the way, that's kind of how this isn't just this is me just being stupid and speculating, but I kind of always knew that I had to draw to punk rock because I fucking hated wearing collared shirts all the time.
Yeah.
I hated them so. I still hate them.
School uniform.
I hate them to this day. I still fucking hate collared shirts.
I dress comfortably.
Same.
Ever since I stopped going to school,
We're gonna stop this entire podcast just because, and we're gonna turn it into an entire rant about me just fucking hating on collared shirts.
All right. Well, before that, Black Flag.
Yes.
Absolute banger of a band. Probably like one of the real formed in 1976 old school punk rock bands that stuck around. Their vocalist will always be like, you know, TV Party Tonight and Rise Above.
Such great.
Circle Jerks. They're still around.
They still are. They're coming to the Phoenix this summer.
Yeah. One of my favorite drummers, Joey Castillo, is playing drums for them now. 1979 LA punk scene band.
If we're going to talk about SoCal punk, I feel like we got to talk about my boys. I don't know them personally. I just like Social Distortion.
Distortion. That's another one.
Which I will maintain was that, and No Doubt were the only great things to come out of Orange County during those times.
That's good.
I can say that because I'm from there.
Then we got the Descendants.
Yeah.
And then punk rock changed. In 94, we got Green Day. And it brought in a new age of pop punk.
Which there's nothing wrong with.
Is pretty much punk rock. I mean, I don't know how people can't say that Dookie
is not punk.
I mean, it's...
Pop punk is punk rock, okay? It just is. Unless you disagree, in which that's totally fine, but that's just what I think.
The way I see it, you know, there's always been, money involved in all bands, anywhere. They fund themselves versus, getting rich people to pay for their albums. It doesn't matter. None of it matters.
It really doesn't. And also because I think to their core, Green Day is still very much a punk band. They talk about politically charged issues. They get involved
there'll always be punk rock in Green Day.
Always.
They have that upbringing. They have that history. And I don't think it goes away in anybody. When it's been injected to you at such a young age, which it was in this case. Bands like that, I mean, how do you look them in their eyes and say, you're not punk rock? I mean, you fucking wrote Insomniac. The entire album of Insomniac is just raw punk rock. But outside of them, you got Blink-182. You got The Offspring and NoFX, Bad Religion. The 90s
I love Bad Religion.
Pop punk scene kind of kept punk rock kept people in America listening to that sound. And more power to them, because honestly, the melodic style of punk rock needs to be listened to more.
It really does.
That's just my opinion. I think kids growing up today would be more politically interested if they were reading lyrics written by Jello Biafra. I think it's just a theory. I can't prove it, but I just feel that I think kids in America are curious enough that if they get really interested in these punk rock bands and this punk rock sound, then they'll start listening to the lyrics, and then they'll start reading stuff, and then
then
to be continued.
Absolutely.
The Republican Party might not survive.
Yay.
I hope it doesn't.
Neither do I. Yeah.
Moving on.
There's a couple of other things before we move on to the next genre.
Yeah, do you want to talk more about punk rock?
Just a little bit. Because I feel like we have to mention some of the punk bands in our scene right now.
Oh yeah. Well, we're in a scene.
Yeah.
It's the new age San Francisco punk rock community scene.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here since the beginning. I'm one of the pioneers, and nobody knows about it.
No, and it's tragic. But I've been here since 2021. I was I'll still like play, but to put things bluntly, I was the lead guitarist for Closet Monster.
Big band in the scene.
Big band. I love them. And
One of the biggest bands is a band called Surprise Privilege.
Yeah.
And another big band, False Flag, went with them and played on a BART train. And, well, now it's a big scene, and a lot of people know about it.
A lot of people do.
I've been here since 2019, and it's never been as big as right now. There's a lot of bands, too many to count.
Well, we can just name some really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of my personal favorites, we'll do this quick. Some of my personal favorites are Jellyfish Method, Straight Jacket, Dead End Job.
Dead End Job.
Totally not biased.
Of course.
That's like the three I can name off the top.
You can go on Instagram.
You already said the other ones, so I can't really say those because I mean, you know what I have? I have a giant list of every single basing show I've ever attended. So what are some other?
Every single one?
Every single one.
There's been a lot.
There have.
I'll tell you what. There's been a lot.
There's
been a lot of bands that have died since then.
Yeah, there's
Rest in peace, Moms
Snake.
with Bangs.
They're coming back.
They're coming back?
Yeah. Oh, the fucking Witless. They're great. Rap Bastard Radio. They're also amazing.
Witch Melter. Witch Melter is dead.
Oh, that's metal. We'll get into that later.
Oh, okay.
But that was just some examples that we have here that we love, and yes,
that's it.
All right.
Anarchy. Punk rock is awesome.
It is.
Okay, so with that, we will now move to the harder of the two genres we're talking about, heavy metal.
Yes, and in my opinion,
metal.
I think this is a good transition because you could not have heavy metal without punk. I feel like heavy metal came.
They are yin and yang, aren't they?
I would say it came kind of from that same area of, you know, they're tired of having stuff thrown in their face all the time and they want to throw it back, but I think they took it to a degree of just extreme musicianship as well as image in terms of just how shocking they were to get not really attention, but just to show how insane they were. I think no better place to start would be with, you know, which many people consider the godfathers of heavy metal, and I agree, which would be Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Ozzy.
Yes.
Since 1968. This band has been around, son.
They have.
Heavy metal. Well, honestly, let's talk about heavy metal, like, just in general.
Yeah, let's do that.
Heavy metal is a genre of rock music that developed in the late 60s and early 70s, which was before punk rock, so it came first. Largely in the United Kingdom and the United States, with roots in blues, psychedelic, and acid rock. Heavy metal bands developed a thick, monumental sound characterized by distorted guitars, extended guitar solos, and extra loud drums.
Very
emphatically loud drums. And in 1968, three of the genre's most famous pioneers, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Deep Purple, were founded, and they came to attract heavily wide fame, and were often derided by critics as not real music. Which well, let's see, you know, has that lived up to it? Is that like a?
It's fucking music, and I still think people that say it's not real music are stupid. No,
I'd say that take aged like fine milk.
Aged like milk.
Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Deep Purple.
I would not say.
Let's talk about. Oh, what were
Was
you
it?
gonna say?
Are we gonna talk about those three?
Well, let's talk about Black Sabbath.
Yeah, for sure. I would say I think Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple are more hard rock, but hard rock was, paved.
I would have to agree. Black Sabbath is more, traditionally what you would call metal, and I guess that makes them, of the three, the real godfather of metal, I would say.
Also, I think a lot of things that contribute to their sound was not only just the name, because the name itself was insanely fucking controversial, because around that time, the 60s, Christianity still one of
hyper conservative,
even if not still a big
panic,
and people were like, holy shit, what the fuck, how dare these people
keep our kids away from this this devil music.
And not only that, but musically, their sound just sounded evil in a way, but in a way that was really enticing and cool. Not in a way that was like, oh, we're gonna fuck you up. Like, it was a way of, it was like endearing. It was,
well, in the same way that I just talked about how punk rock just makes me happy despite being like super angry. I've just seen constant examples of people who metal is their life. It keeps them going. It's their happy place, and it's the most like heavy kind of like sad, depressing kind of music. Like Metallica's One is like super fucking depressing, but it is that in a roundabout way. It's kind of like the exact same way how that makes it, that hits emotional chords that make you just, it hits your happy point. It hits your pleasure point. And I see that everywhere. I see people who metal just makes them so fulfilled, and just metalheads like look at these bands that like change their lives, and I see this. Whenever you go to a heavy metal concert, you see a guy who probably would have killed themselves, and they kept going because of that music, because of this band. Whether it be like Kiss or Metallica or Black Sabbath, all these the metal genre, I feel, has struck a chord in like deeply emotional people, I would say.
It has. I think one of the best quotes about describing metal, ironically, comes from a really cheesy horror comedy movie that I love called Deathgasm.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, very funny but very, very graphic movie.
Awesome.
But the main character puts it really well, and he goes, just when you feel that life sucks, and you feel like nothing is gonna get better, you put on some metal and everything just kind of feels better because someone out there knows the pain you're going through. And I really like that.
That is exactly what I was trying to say.
And it was
for like 3 minutes. That's exactly, you just summed it up.
Someone knows the pain that you're going through, and I really like that, because if I'm gonna be honest, I love listening to upbeat and happy music more than anything. But I'm not gonna lie, when I'm like down in the dumps and I feel like shit, I don't want to listen to happy music,
when
because
you're down in the dumps, that's when it hits.
I want to listen to like inspirational music, but first, I want to listen to stuff because I want to be comforted in knowing someone knows.
Yeah.
Someone knows how I feel, and specifically knows how I feel because they put it into this form.
Yes.
And I want to listen to stuff like that. And also because, sometimes those big, heavy, chugging riffs, those insane drumming beats, I don't know, man. When you're in that place, it's soothing. It's just really soothing. And also, I feel like a lot of people who write metal are either very happy because they have an outlet to channel all of the emotional burdens that they have carried throughout their lives. But not only that, just sometimes, they just want to write fun, spooky music, in my opinion. And either way, it strikes a chord, and there strangely is a beauty to heavy metal. There really is. And I think an example of that would be just a week from today, actually. A week from today, last week, I saw Mastodon and Gojira at the Concord Pavilion. And
how was that?
That was an insane night. I was so fucking sore the next day. But because
that means it was good.
It was really good.
Week, that's a good show.
But you see all these people, they're wearing all these crazy like patches with all this like dark and evil shit on it, which I'm not gonna lie, kind of draws me away. Like, you will not find me at a death metal concert or a black metal concert, but seeing all of these people come together, and then after they're done moshing, just seeing some of them, like, people were like, I bet the best example was after Gojira, like, they played one of their biggest songs, which was Stranded, which, if I am correct, I may be wrong. I read about this just last night, so I may be wrong. Most of that album, Magma, was written after the lead singer and their drummer, which are brothers, their mom passed away. And their biggest song, Stranded, is about, the fear of being left alone. And you just see all of these people, even when they're in their pit, they're hugging each other, they're weeping tears, and they're screaming, even though the music is just, it sounds really fucking heavy. This, if you haven't listened to Gojira, the guy's vocals are fucking insane. But there was just something I was like, wow, that's beautiful. That's something really cool. There's like a familiar aspect. Don't get me wrong though. There are some like subgenres of metal where it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A lot of subgenres.
I don't like that. I don't like what you guys are doing.
But I would say that metal as a whole has a very tight-knit community. Mm-hmm. Like metalheads, like, they got each other's back. That's what I've seen personally.
They really do. Mm-hmm. It's insane to see. Like, I have seen, and I you can quote me on this, I have seen more fights break out at mainstream concerts, like for mainstream pop bands or like mainstream rock bands, than I have seen at metal shows. I have literally seen a guy I've seen so many people get shoved down, and when they fall, I've seen like people like break their nose or something, and instead of keep going, they stop, pick him up, and they see if he's okay, and then they put him off to the side, or he just keeps going. It's fucking insane.
That's a good point to bring up. There's a really well-known etiquette among pit, it's pit etiquette. When you're in a metal show, it gets rough. You could like lose a tooth. You could like, you could like dislocate a shoulder or something, and people know that. So when someone gets knocked down, what do? Everyone stops, put him back up. Don't trample the dude. Like that's basic etiquette when you're in a metal show like that, or a punk show for that matter. Punk rock is the same way. There's a very established etiquette. When you see someone on the ground, you gotta get them back up.
Absolutely.
Because like no one's dying on our watch.
No one.
You gotta pick them back up and get back to moshing.
Exactly. Or you can stand off to the side and no one
that. There's an etiquette to this thing.
Also, I think another thing I love about metal is just how many subgenres there are. There are so many fucking subgenres.
So we got avant-garde metal, Christian metal, extreme metal, black metal, death metal, doom metal, speed metal, thrash metal, glam metal, groove metal, power metal, symphonic metal, alternative metal, deathcore, drone metal, rap metal, folk metal, grindcore, gothic metal, industrial metal, stoner rock, progressive metal, sludge metal, neoclassical metal, and Viking metal.
Yep, that's a
thing. All those subgenres have Wikipedia pages, so they're all. I guess I would assume they're all real. Oh God, Viking metal! I want to fucking listen to Viking metal now.
That's pretty much only Amon Amarth. Yeah, they're pretty crazy.
Watch the Northman form a band.
Yeah, but
So, yeah.
They even left some out on there.
I left some out. Yeah.
No, they left some,
Oh, they did,
I think
yeah.
power metal isn't even on there.
Yeah.
Like things like
Oh, I
that.
say power metal, but I'm sure there's a
Thank
lot
you for
more.
saying power metal.
There's a lot more. The new metal, punk metal.
Oh Jesus, new metal.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, in any case, since we talked about the our local scene in the punk community, there is a Bay Area scene in the metal community that has a long history and
yes,
its godfather, Metallica.
is from Bay Area thrash scene.
The earliest documented roots of the Bay Area thrash metal scene date back to 1979. And in November 1982, Exodus opened a show at San Francisco's old Waldorf venue for Metallica, a then relatively unknown band from SoCal. And at that time, it was pretty much just Cliff Burton, James Hetfield, and Lars Ulrich. And they had relocated to the East Bay area in El Cerrito, near Albany Hill. In February 1983. They had just recruited Dave Mustaine to be their guitarist. And I have seen the house that they used to practice in El Cerrito near Albany Hill. It's just on Carlson Boulevard. It was rented by then manager of Exodus, Mark Whitaker. And yeah, it's just a little house. It's still there. You can go see it right now. It's where Metallica pretty much grew up in their East Bay scene. And at the time, they were just a bunch of weirdos. They fired Dave Mustaine the next year, and he moved back to LA to form Megadeth.
Yeah, he did.
They replaced him with Kirk Hammett, and I guess the rest is history.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, yeah, and
not only was Metallica I feel like they were the big catalyst for causing.
To this day they're the big dogs. Like you can't talk about metal without Metallica.
No, you really can't. I know people say
the gods.
They're kind of overrated, and
any band that gets that famous that plays to like 1 million people in Russia, literally 1 million people.
They're doing something right.
Everyone's gonna call you overrated at some point because there's so much like the heyday of Metallica. No one can even fathom like how big it was. It was insane.
They were
just from Master of Puppets to the Black Album. What these guys played to, like, it's metal is like. It's the amount of people that will come out.
Metal would not be what it is without Metallica.
It's almost as big as the fucking Catholic Church. Like the way it is. I would say probably maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but like that's how many people came out to see like Metallica during those days. During the old days of Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, Justice for All, and the Black Album. That run is Beatlemania, but like the black album.
Yeah, for real. And not only that, just I feel like in recent years, gonna kind of go off a different tangent because talking about Metallica and how they have evolved, it made me realize there's a lot of new heavy metal bands that have been coming out around the 21st century that show just how much the genre has evolved and
metal has evolved.
I mean, for example, my favorite metal band of all time is Ghost, because they cultivated a sound like no other metal band. They had a striking image, and not only that, they wrote fucking great music. Like, I feel like Ghost is one of those few bands that like just based like classic rock and roll fans like myself and metalheads can just love because they have the riffs, they have the sounds, and it just works. And I don't know. But not only that, but there's just a lot of like 21st century metal is it's insane. Like how much
it definitely
we're getting
become its own its own deal.
Yeah.
I can't even really describe 21st century metal because there's a lot. Like the subgenres are definitely like taking over, and there's not like a well, that's actually true for every era of metal, honestly, because back in the 80s they had glam metal. Motley Crue.
Wait, okay, I got
Motley Crue.
I fucking love glam metal so much.
Yeah, and
because glam metal gave me my favorite band, Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi was another, right? And
it's just so fun. It's just so fun. I feel like glam metal was. I know a lot of people kind of hate on it. Hair metal. I know, but the truth is, same with kind of the Clash and the way they kind of brought. But I feel like glam metal, even though it's a lot more poppier, it still brought heavy metal to a mainstream.
Yeah, well,
like you
listen to Kickstart My Heart and tell me you don't.
You cannot look me in the eye and tell me that Livewire isn't somewhat a metal song. Like, you cannot tell me otherwise. I will refuse, because it's such a... Motley Crue, as controversial as they are now, were definitely the pioneers of that hair metal genre.
They were the godfathers of the hair metal. I honestly, like, they're old.
So I can't thank them enough for that.
They were the old classic party rock. They brought the party to the metal scene.
They did.
They were
They
hard,
did.
Hardcore partiers. You can't even fathom like Motley Crue ODing on drugs. They just did so much. It's like you'd think that they would have died.
Kickstart My Heart
is if they were going to OD on drugs, but they're just Motley Crue. They don't OD on drugs. They are a black pit of drugs, and they just take anything that gives. But that's another story.
Kickstart My Heart is literally about the time when Nikki Sixx literally died from a heroin overdose.
Oh, I stand corrected. But still, he survived. So like,
but because they got the name Kickstart My Heart because one of the doctors who was a Motley Crue fan was like, he ain't fucking dying on me. So he literally, which I don't know, like, okay, I don't know shit about doctors and like medical procedures. So
they did the Pulp Fiction thing, where the adrenaline shot
I don't,
to the heart.
So yeah, I don't know if this is true or not. If it is, like, I guess I don't know. I have so much respect for medical physicians and what they do because they have to put up so much bullshit. But that seems kind of iffy. Like, I don't know. This go against procedure. Just be like, nah. Just fucking 2 needles full of adrenaline. Just like Mad Max style.
Mad Max, yeah. But hey, if it works, it works. Mm-hmm. And I guess it worked, didn't it? Like, he didn't die.
Yeah, he didn't die.
Hey, you know. Score 1 for medical technology.
Indeed.
Well,
I guess what's
Iron Maiden?
What's some of your favorite metal bands?
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden. Run for the Hills is one of my favorite songs. And it has a great they got a great lineup of what was that movie? Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap is literally like how a metal band was back in the day. That's literally what it was.
Great movie, by the way.
Great movie.
It's so funny.
That's what metal is. Well, in a very exaggerated sense.
It's a funny movie. But at the same time, it's like painfully realistic.
Yeah.
Like I remember,
this goes up to 11.
Like I know my parents. I remember my parents showed it to me, and they were laughing, and they go, "Garrett, why aren't you laughing? This is fun." I'm like, I'm enjoying it. It's just the fact that this isn't really funny to me because it's all real. This all just feels really true.
Happens, you know?
This is just stuff that literally happens.
We had to replace our drummer because he spontaneously combusted.
But so what are some of my favorites?
Kiss is a big,
shout out to my dad.
Yeah, like that. I went to...
Today is actually Ace Frehley's birthday, believe it or not. So awesome. This is a good day we're talking about this.
Yeah, I went to, before COVID, in 2019, they had Kiss's final show.
They're still going.
They're still going. But, like, it was amazing. Seeing all the hardcore Kiss fans. Those are great fans.
They are. Kiss
showed up.
Kiss Army is insane.
It was at the Oracle Arena, and they just packed it with these guys that just love Kiss and love that music, and it was wonderful to see. It was absolutely wonderful to see.
Kiss also brought when this is something my dad has told me, and also that I've just seen in a bunch of documentaries that I think is true. Kiss brought theatrics to rock and roll.
They did.
You know,
big time theatrics.
no rock and like Kiss made. I mean, don't get me wrong. When you go to see a band, you're there to see the band.
They
Like
put
you're
on-
there, you're there to see the music. But Kiss was like, no,
Kiss
no, no,
puts
no,
on a show.
no. Kiss like is like, all right, we're gonna give music, but you're gonna get the fucking craziest shit. Like it's about the show. It's more about
the drum kit like ascends from like the roof. Like,
Gene
like,
Simmons blowing fire and spitting blood.
and
Paul Stanley
like
riding across the
does
fucking
like a
zip line.
like a zip line. He always does that zip line, doesn't he? It's just
He does.
all the way the entire. Yeah, Kiss. I love Kiss. I love Kiss.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
Shock rock. Yeah.
Shock. Yes, they were them and Alice Cooper were like pioneers of shock rock. What are some of my I mean, I said Ghost, but recently a band that I've been getting into, a couple of like the heavier bands. Powerwolf, I've listened to them. They're from Germany. They're pretty cool. Mostly because I really love. I'm starting to get into power metal because as an opera singer, I love the vocals on power metal. I think they're insanely just talented, but also like insanely beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, so they're pretty sick. System of a Down.
System of a Down.
System of a Down is like is like if someone went up to them and was like, "So what kind of metal band are you?" and they just said yes.
Yeah.
That's what System of a Down is, and I love them for it.
Yeah. Slayer.
Oh, I actually don't listen to Slayer that much, to be honest.
Me neither, but I do like their name, Slayer.
I mean, Rain and Blood, though. I mean,
and Megadeth. Honestly, Megadeth's song, Holy Wars. I would say if there's a fucking song that sums up metal, it's the first 3 minutes of Holy Wars. That is just just like it's an adrenaline shot to the heart. It's like that is primo, just magnifique metal.
Yes.
Like I love that song so much. By Holy Wars. And that song is about the Punisher too.
Yeah. Oh my God! Wait, if we're talking about the Punisher,
he's a comic book fan. Punisher. I guess.
Oh wait, not Punisher. What's the Judge Dredd? Oh yeah, I Am the Law. Anthrax.
I Am the Law. Anthrax.
Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, that's I love that song. Among the Living is like one of the just one of the best thrash metal albums out there. Okay, we're going a bit long, which is fine, but there's two more things I'd like to discuss, and that is for one, scene metal bands, but also I was saving these guys for last because I think they're a perfect blend of metal and punk, and that's Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah,
I think this is a good way to kind of like tie it up. Yeah,
I'd say that they are super very informatively political. The lyricist writes so perfectly. Like he's honestly a punk rock writer.
No,
like, I would put all these songs in any punk rock band, but like it's
I love Rage Against the Machine so much because I love just how unapologetic they are with their politics.
Yeah, it's part of their whole deal.
Their sound is so unique. It's like hip hop style vocals, with punk lyrics and like really heavy riffs. But at the same time, they also have like Tom Morello, who, by the way, one of the most amazing guitarists out there. We've said that before.
Absolutely.
But Tom Morello is a fucking beast.
100%.
But he does this shit with his guitar, like it's almost like a record scratching board.
Yeah.
But he just makes this guitar sound like a completely other person. And
he does.
Their sound is just so unique. Their sound
is a blend of punk rock and metal, honestly.
It really is, and I think that's why I kind of wanted to close it.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to...
Because they're a good...
Yeah. Zach De La Roca in any other like band, he'd be like a punk rock lyricist, but like this is a perfect blend of punk and metal.
Bulls on Parade is
and there's so many just great hits that you can't even there's so many you can't even keep track.
Also,
Know Your Enemy.
They put their money, I feel like, where their mouth is in terms of activism.
Yeah, they do.
Like, they really go above and beyond to support good organizations, and also just to
they're
just
real,
promoting an anti-fascist movement.
They walk the walk that they talk, Like De La Roya is just a total he's an activist. He's great. He's killing in the name of all these songs are fight the power.
Really,
from a real deep sense of anti-establishment. The people rise up and reclaim their power.
Also, total one of
righteous, one of my pretty much communist. He's pretty much a communist.
I don't know. He's a total no, he's a total Marxist.
I know.
Yeah, it's go ahead and say communism. It's fine.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying,
oh wait,
in this country.
Oh.
Yeah, but in any case, but the dude's political activism is total revolutionary, and I love it.
I was gonna say something, but I completely forgot. Oh yeah, one of my favorite clips of that just shows the talents and also just what Rage Against the Machine is all about. I forget what interview they were doing, but they were doing okay, I'm looking it up really quick.
I'd have to say, Metal's struggle has always been the satanic panic kind of thing, where they all their metal music is blamed for a lot of things.
It really is
by the establishment, by center right to right wing parents. In the 80s it was heavy metal music was evil stuff to a lot of suburban parents, and that's kind of how it got so it caught so much fire, because it's the forbidden music, right?
Indeed.
There's not a lot of culture shock about that now, because we already dealt with that, and those loser boomers are all kind of dying off. But back in the day, metal music was very controversial and very it's kind of like rock and roll in the 50s. It was oh, you can't listen to that. You might dance with a black person to that music.
Or you might just, start watching horror movies, or you might
start thinking.
It's it's insane. So yeah,
so in that sense, metal music has always had that kind of not different from punk rock. But not so much. It kind of like cousins.
For
metal
real.
Music has always been very, it has a message.
Also, I found the clip that I was talking about. So they were on BBC Radio, and they think it was back in
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, I think it was it 2007? I forget when it was.
Yeah,
it was it was a decade or something ago.
And do what you told.
And they were asking about I forget what they were interviewing about, but Tom Morello made this really amazing speech about going against this is when programs such as American Idol and America's Got Talent started really coming into to form, and they were kind of going on to protest how music, to quote The Alarm, should be by the people, for the people, and of the people, and how someone can control that, and BBC Radio, they asked them to play Killing in the Name, and they asked specifically don't bring up anything hugely political, and also please do not say the F word. Right. And at the very end of the song, there's this big build up, and literally the last minute and a half of this song is just Zach De La Rocha screaming, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me." And
at the end, so it's oh, you can't. What are you gonna do? Kick me out? I'm almost done.
So they did that, and they straight up looked into the recording studio of BBC, and they literally just went double bird. Which I don't know if I'm I don't know, because I understand. I don't know if I would do that, just because I'm kind of I
I would do that.
But I absolutely support that idea of, hey, we won't be shackled down. We won't be shackled down.
I love their messaging. I love everything about that band. They are just anti-authoritarianism to the core.
They really are.
They are straight up people power, left-wing music, and that's kind of what punk rock is all about.
Yeah. We have time for one last little thing, because I feel like we talked about our punk bands in our scene. I think it's only appropriate we talk about the metal bands in our scene right now. Some of my personal favorite metal band in the scene right now is Van Gogh's. I fucking love those dudes.
Oh, they're metal? Oh, okay.
I consider them metal. I love them. I think they sound awesome. I just love their sound, again, very unique. Like, you hear a guitar riff, you can hear it, I'm like, oh, that's Van Gogh's.
Van Gogh's. What is a Van Gogh's?
Well, I don't fucking know. Oh, it's such a stupid name. They're my favorite metal band.
Me $10.
Ian, if you're listening to this, you owe Alex $10. Get him his money.
My tater tots back.
I know where you live. I know where you live. Okay.
Okay, so to end.
I had one more.
Oh,
sorry. This is more of a in memoriam for Witch Melter.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Oh, rest in peace. Witch Melter.
Oh god, they were if they still have music out on their streaming platforms when this is up, go listen to it because it's unlike anything you'll ever hear. It's fucking insane. It's absolutely bonkers, and I'm sad they're gone. That's all I have.
Okay, and to end, in conclusion, I will sing some lyrics from the Tenacious D song "The Metal." You can't kill the metal. The metal will live on. Punk rock tried to kill the metal. New wave tried to kill the metal. Grunge tried to kill the metal. Ha ha ha! They failed as they were thrown into the ground. Yeah. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank you guys very much for listening. I am gonna go get some sleep.
Awesome.
Okay, bye.
Bye.